Good afternoon. My name is Polanco, and this is my leading video on a 10th grade team meeting. I decided not to videotape them, the teachers, the members of my 10th grade team. But included in them was an art teacher, U.S. history, chemistry, geometry, algebra 2, and pre-calculus teacher, English teacher, the academic dean, and myself, the AP Spanish teacher. In the introduction, I would first like to say that this is pretty graphic. This meeting was one of the few where the passion of the teacher really excels, and you can tell quite a bit that these teachers really believe in the students, in the sense that they're trying to make them college ready, and they're trying to put in as much information as possible, because unfortunately, of course, the state requires a lot of testing and AP testing, and it is about numbers, and you will see it here where numbers play a big role in this meeting. But I would like to say that in collaboration with the academic dean, me as a 10th grade teacher, I guess I have to say that I'm kind of immune to this now, because it happens quite often. The group of teachers that I have is very varied, very diverse, and their opinions on their classes is something that you see in every class, in every school, where they think that their class is the best class possible, and that their class deserves sometimes more than others, and it's a problem that happens, or a perception that every teacher has, and perception is very important in this meeting. I also would like to say that there was no transitions between the meeting. It wasn't much of a learning or staff development. It was pure black coffee, and that's what we call that in our school. In our school, we have this thing about everything is black coffee, which means it doesn't have any milk, it doesn't have any creamer, and it sure doesn't have any sugar. So we don't sugarcoat anything. Just give it to us straight, and you will see like tar in this observation, because the thing is, now it is April, and they have taken the English EOCs, and in the 10th grade team, the only other test that they have to take is a mandatory. Everybody in the 10th grade in my school takes U.S. history, AP U.S. history, and so the teacher has always given a lot of homework and a lot of reading assignments and a lot of information, a lot of vocabulary words that they have to learn and whatnot. And so he's asking for more time, more support, and you will see how it comes about, or how it's portrayed to the rest, what is the perception of the others. And I hope you enjoy, because it's quite dramatic. Nobody was injured in the creation of this video and or in the 10th grade meeting. It was a conflict, there was resolution, and I hope you enjoy. Let's get started. The meeting for today is because we haven't updated. There's several things that we have to talk about. First off is the updating of the spreadsheets for purposes of tutorials. Is everybody going to tutorials that was supposed to be in mandatory tutorials? No? Have you been writing them up every day?
The ones, yep.
Yeah, the absences and the presence. And
Yep.
I've been writing them up if they don't come.
Yep.
Okay. And how many failures do you think you're gonna have for this upcoming 6 weeks? 0 on your part? 0? 1?
Probably looking at 2 to 3.
2 to 3.
2 to 3.
And
Okay.
I can say right now for my one,
'Cause some of them are
it won't
strict.
surprise anybody. It won't surprise Dad, because Dad.
Trayvon?
Yeah. Yeah. We had a big powwow before Slack left, and Dad said, there's nothing else I can do for him. He's gotta fail now. But we maintain the paper trail. Dr. G's been in the loop, and just on Trayvon now.
Yeah, he's barely gonna make it tomorrow.
I don't think he's going to do this.
He didn't even do his project.
And yours either?
So
I really think this is the one marking period where he just has not given me enough.
So he's one of your 2 or 3?
Yeah. Rhiannon, him, and I can't remember who might be the other one.
But do they both get special services? They should be getting special services?
Wait,
Rihanna's
what
not in special services?
Oh, I don't know, I don't have her.
I believe she's 504, no?
Yeah, she's 504.
Yeah, but Tremont doesn't have enough.
Yeah, she has me. I have her for. She's gotten the time. She's coming to tutorials, but if she can get the stuff done by Friday, she'll probably pass.
Okay.
Okay, but she's got to get the stuff done, and I've been working with her, but I only see her on Mondays. That's the only time she'll come is when she's has an actual tutorial. So,
Okay, we'll have to talk to her. Okay, and then the next one is avid requirements. If you're in electives, is Cornell notes.
they're sitting on my desk. I just need to hand them.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have to send them in. They say by this Friday that they were due, so we just need to give them to them.
All right, John.
And that is awesome. Okay,
Do you have the next rotation? Do you know what the next rotation for everyone is, or are we gonna go over that on Friday?
that we're gonna go over on Friday.
Okay.
And then update spreadsheet, of course, we didn't do that this past 6 weeks. 6 weeks, sorry. We need to get that done. Because we need to train the people that are still in tutorials. Another thing is, if they already took your EOC, or if you're not even in an EOC subject, is it possible that we change them to get the tutorial that they need one day, but the other day make it either history, or if they're in AP Spanish? Because now that the EOCs are done, or at least the English one, the only other ones for sophomores is AP tests, and I have all of them from freshmen to seniors that are taking AP Spanish, and they need to pass the test, right? So, and then the last thing is projects. Guys, we are having a whole bunch of projects in the classes, and like I said, there's only 2 more tested subjects. It's math and what? Biology, right?
It's Algebra 1.
Algebra 1 and biology, so it
It's
doesn't
not
even include us, right?
Doesn't include the 10th grade.
Okay, so if we're giving tests that include 30 pages of writing, and we have AP where they all have to take AP history, or they are, half of them are taking AP Spanish, there's 72 of them that are taking AP Spanish, and they're having to read an hour and a half or 2 hours for history, and an hour and a half, 2 hours for Spanish, and we give them a project that's 30 pages long.
I did not give a paper
It's-
that was 30 pages. It's not my fault she decided to write 30 pages.
I'm not
Okay,
saying just
one
you.
student. I'm
I'm-
now, and I know this is coming down on me because I know where this is coming from. But this is crap, because I will tell you right now, I did not assign it to be that big. One student decided to make it that big.
Okay, so
And I don't
70
give them very much homework at all
I know-
because of all the stuff that they do.
I understand that, but understand this, ready? If you're gonna give them 7-page type papers.
8 or 4 weeks to do it.
Okay,
And I told them, and I've worked with them to tell them not to wait till the last minute. But what are they gonna do? They're always gonna wait till the last minute. And that's not my fault.
okay.
And it was a writing assignment. So I have every right to give them an assignment, and it wasn't supposed to be this outrageous thing that these kids made it to be.
Okay, it's not a matter if you have the right or not right. I agree with the right to give it to them. What I'm asking for, and what we're both asking for, is some consideration over this next 6 weeks and trying
Yeah,
to
not-
soften the
pest is a pest.
assignment. The only reason I'm asking is, okay, ready? At the end of the year, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna get called in September, and Dr. G's gonna say to me, Mr. Hill, why do we get more kids passing? And I'm gonna say to him, what? Well, if we have them jammed up again with work,
You know
and it's
what?
not just yours, it's math, it's you, it's English, it's everybody working together. So I have a few free weeks so I can get these kids to get their work done. We've all agreed all year they've been jammed up. They have been doing the minimum amount of work in every class because they're jammed up. They're now behind in my class.
I haven't given them much of anything. I've been trying to keep them from being jammed up for you. I wanted one project, and it was 1 week, and they waited till the last week to do it. Now my next project, and I have a marking period, okay? My next project is going to be after your AP exam anyway. It will, because it'll be in the 5th or 6th week. Your AP exam is in the 4th or 5th week. It'll be after it.
Can I just ask a question?
I really don't like the fact that I know that the attack was on me.
It wasn't, because
No, it's
there was another
But it's-
teacher that gave
wait.
55
What
pages.
question do we ask them in the interview? Are you willing to do 2 to 3 hours worth of homework a night? I don't think we're assigning 2 to 3 hours worth of homework a night. I really don't. They don't do more than 30 seconds of homework for me, it seems like, ever for chemistry, because they're so worried about your homework.
Well, they're not doing it. 'Cause
My homework is worth 6 college credits. This is the difference.
So yours is better than mine? You're telling me that your classes are better than mine, and I'm sick of that statement.
Okay.
That's crap.
Okay, so what's the most important thing here?
It's
Is
all
one
about the
thing's
numbers.
more important than another? It's about numbers.
So-
Unfortunately, we are in an education system that supports numbers. I have a responsibility to
So
these
does-
kids. Wait, let me finish. I have responsibility to these kids for box checking. I've got kids that are sophomores that are intending to go to Ivy League schools. If they do not pass this, the box isn't checked. Understand that affects their future. That's
The ones
what
that are
my
going to the
concern
Ivy
is.
League schools are going to do your work, and they're going to
And
get
they're
their
not going to
5,
get their
4, 5.
and they're all not going to get their 4s or 5s. They'll get their 3s.
And I've
then
been
the
leading
extra
it and not
time.
giving them work
Okay.
for that so that they can do it. But
Okay,
I really get
obviously.
tired of you
Excuse
always
me.
saying
Alright.
yours is so more important.
Gentlemen.
I'm just gonna intervene here because there's a couple things that we need to keep in mind. Because part of the conversation started because they really were not doing anyone's work, not because they're not doing anyone's, because they have so many other classes. So some of them are in college English, some of them are in college whatever. So most of them are enrolled in college coursework plus possibly AP. Plus that plus yours plus. And one thing that we don't tend to go back to in our conversation, because we're not, and we haven't gotten there in terms of 10th grade, and I think we need to be more aware of it, is that we are taking, by our own setup, students who are not prepared or may not be prepared for whatever barrier prior to coming into us, and we've taken them from 9th grade into 10th grade. So in 9th grade they've taken 2 college classes, most of them, which is an EDUC and a PE class, neither of which has prepared them to go in to take loads of learning how to manage and monitor their time, and know how to put their resources in. So when you give them 4 weeks or you give them 2 weeks, the outcome for most is the same. So what we have to understand is when we give them something, so if I looked at that, yes, I agree, they should be able to do 7 or 8 pages over 4 weeks, which is 2 per week. One of the things that we have to help them learn to do, because we're trying to teach them to get to the point that they can get to their junior and senior level coursework and be able to manage that, is teach them how to manage it. So if we know that they're going to have 4 weeks, we haven't gotten to a point where we've had those communications that we're teaching kids how to manage those. We're giving it to them knowing that they're going to wait till the last minute, because that's the nature by which they've lived up to this point. So instead of everybody assigning and making it so large that if I wait till the last week, then yeah, I'm really screwed, in the sense that I'm trying to do that, I'm trying to do my vocabulary review, I'm trying to prepare, I'm trying to get my projects done. Giving them the tools to be able to do that. And part of that is, if I know I have 4 weeks to do that, teaching them how to use that 4 weeks, and in the meantime doing checks, so that I've broken that down into however many, grades along the way to do that, to teach them how to manage the assignment how to take those skills so that they're efficiently utilizing it, so that we're checking it to making sure they're turning in quality and not getting to the very end. Because if we just give them a 4-week project and take whatever they give us at the end of 4 weeks, what we've done is we have not given them the skills when they get into 11th grade. We haven't given them the skills for a U.S. history or an English class where they're teaching them how to do quality work as opposed to quantity. So at that point, I have to turn it in, I need 8 pages.
And at the same time, they're kind of, it feels to me like they're just surviving. And so they go from deadline to deadline, from deadline. You understand what I'm saying? Like they're not separating a little bit of time. We're supposed to be doing time management and stuff like that, and we're not showing them how to time manage. We're only saying you're supposed to study 2 or 3 hours a day. But whatever comes up next, because they have to meet the deadlines.
Yeah, right now they're just
surviving,
they're just surviving,
trying not to drown.
Part of that survival is trying to assess what needs to be done.
I discussed with them the fact, and I kept telling them over and over again, no, I didn't have checkpoints. That was a mistake on my part. I didn't have the checkpoints. But I told them, I said, look, if you just work on it for 15 minutes a night, you'll have it done in 2 weeks, not 4. Okay? So work on it. Yeah, one of those weeks was actually spring break.
Right. And
that's and my issue was is that I actually wanted it done before spring break, but I didn't have the time because every time I wanted to assign it, we had benchmark testing. Then we had the festival, and it just kept getting pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. So it's like I had to do it when half the students, part of the students were not half the students, but like 20 of the students weren't there because they were at the marathon. But I had to get it assigned, or I wasn't going to have 3 major grades, and it wasn't supposed to be this big ordeal. I've done this actual project, and I've done it like 8 times in a semester when we were semestered for the whole year, because they would write a unit report, every single unit except for like 3 or 4 of them, and they would just write it. And the first couple are always hideous, but they get to learn how to write them, and it's just them writing their stinking summaries and putting it into a document. That's all they had to do. And I talked to them about that, but they don't want to write their summaries. They don't want to take their notes. Dr. G walked into my classroom yesterday, and the students were taking notes in their notebooks, because if you don't tell them to do it, they don't do it. They're not, I mean, seriously, I can't take, according to what the district said at the beginning of January, we cannot grade unless it's for content. That's what it said. So I can no longer grade their interactive notebooks. The interactive notebook is not a grade on their content, it's on a grade that they can follow directions and take notes. That's really not me checking to see if they've actually learned the content. Okay, so I had to pull that. So now this was my other
but
option.
you could do something, I mean, you can do something for content that checks, that lets them use their interactive notebook
Right.
in the process. So,
but it could be
like the creation of summaries, that's part of Avid, and those could be your exit tickets, and that would be content.
I've got that, but the thing is that the unit report is really just supposed to be
a summary of everything.
A summary of everything for the unit, which is just them compiling all the, and it's a little bit more in depth than just this silly little 2-sentence summaries that they write, which aren't any good anyways. You should be writing that. They should be full-blown summaries. And that's what the students don't understand. So I said, okay, this is what you're gonna do. So I had them do it. And I'm telling you, the other school that I was at, the other early college I was at, it was on board that they did this for almost every unit. There's 14 units. They would do 8 of the 14. Okay? And they would do them. Some of them were 4 pages, 5-page papers, and a couple of them did get to be 7 or 8, but they were to write every night, just a little bit every night, and they'd have it done. And it's just like, it just seems like I got slammed for doing this, and I'm like, I'm having them write.
It wasn't about you. It was about the process of everybody, because everybody last week, for example, if, except for one or two people gave a project or an essay or something of that sort.
We were supposed to put on the calendar when we were scheduling our projects. Guess who's the only one scheduled for last week, due last week?
Exactly.
Mine.
That's why we're here, not because
I've
we're
never changed I've had the same 5th week project since I started here.
You said you were going fourth.
5th, because we didn't have the 4th because of the testing thing.
Well, then they also said they had a project for you. I'm working on my Spanish project.
Oh, but I did it in class. They
We're
shouldn't
only
have
asking
added.
going forward for
Yeah,
the
we're only asking that from forward because we have a month left for before AP exams, that we keep the projects to where it is an extension of the learning that's happening in class, but not something that's due the day when the AP test is.
And that
That's
won't
all.
be there.
It's
That's
too
all.
hard to do it because they keep throwing stuff at us right and left. And if we're gonna get 3 major grades in and we couldn't do tests when there was all the benchmark and EOC testing. It's like, it's because of all the 3 major grades we have to get and the 9 little grades we have to get. They're killing us.
One thing that could happen to where you do get to the 3 major grades without having to wait till the very end of the 6 weeks to give something other than the regular exam that you have to give in the 6 weeks. It like a project one grade 1 week and then the test the next week, so that you can finish your 3 grades, is if you give those except for the 6 weeks exam in the beginning of the 6 weeks. And that way you get 2 major grades out the way, and then you just have the 6 weeks exam to give at the very end. And that way it kind of decongests the whole situation, because like we did that quite a bit for example, now that they had the English, now English is, they already tested the English one, right? So now I'm not saying do not work on English anymore. Yes, work on English, but kind of expand your activities a little bit more, so that at the end of the 6 weeks, it's not all congested with their AP exams, because AP exams, they're not better than any other exam, but they're just very stressed out about AP exams because it's a lot of material that they have to learn.
Look, you can keep saying they're not better than. And I'm sorry, guys, but I'm the one getting called in September. Why aren't my
You're
numbers?
not gonna get fired, so stop. Come on, you're a decent teacher. You're teaching
It's not
here.
about being
It's
fired.
Not, it's not.
No, it's-
You're gonna be talked.
It's not about being fired.
I have to show my data to him too.
I understand that, but my data counts triple, 4 times what your data counts. It does. Roll your eyes. Be however you want. It counts 3 or 4 times yours.
I think part
You
of
can
that
say whatever
is
you
that,
want, but
yeah,
that's the
I mean,
truth.
I mean,
AP numbers count more. It does. Sorry, that's the way that the district does it. It's not my way of doing it.
I think the lens on AP too in the district, and that's something to consider. Because really, at the end of the school year, and we look at that, and I'm like, I understand everybody's. If I had Dwyer in here, I tell her her PE counts just as much as everyone else's, because ultimately they have to have those classes to graduate. They have to have them to be prepared to move on to the next level. But I do understand where Mr. Nahila and Ms. Polanco are coming from, and from that respect, because their numbers, all of the numbers, benchmark numbers get reported through the district, and there's the comparisons and how everyone's doing, because it's going to give us some ideas about EOC. There is a big push for AP in the district in terms of increasing the numbers and increasing the level of achievement on those tests. And those numbers obviously get reported, and College Board has that information, and that's being shared throughout the district, because the district's push in all of this is to see the increase in the number of tests being given and the scores that are being earned on those tests. And so I think part of that consideration is that we can adjust in our classroom, we can adjust on our campus for that, but we can't adjust what College Board gives in terms of theirs, just like we can't adjust what the state gives in terms of EOC. So no, I was just gonna say, we just have to, in that consideration, be mindful, because ultimately what I don't want is our intention for early college is to help students be successful as they transition to a 4-year. It's not to run them so far into the ground that by the time they graduate, they have no interest in going to college. And right now we've got students who are trying to survive day to day because they're trying to get everyone's work done. And I understand that we've taken away a lot of that. I understand benchmarks and testing and whatever else. I understand because I have a stack of discipline that has been pushed to the wayside because we've done these pieces in it, and so those pieces keep getting pushed because there is testing and there is the pull-outs and all of those components, and so they're doing what they can, but we have to help teach them, especially at 10th grade, especially because ninth grade is getting prepared to get into college courses, and the college courses they're taking they're successful at because they're classes that they are hands-on with, PE and their EDUC, which is very interactive, and it's another extension of Abbott in helping them with their time management skills, and COSC, which is all hands-on. That transition between 9th and 10th and them getting ready from 10th grade to go to 11th grade, the expectation we have, especially in going outside of our campus and into the college level courses where we are sending them that have impact on graduation and further success in college courses, all comes, really, their transition from 10th grade is probably the biggest leap in what we've asked them to do, and 8th to 9th is huge, but I think 9th to 10th is probably going to 11th the most important, and so that's part of the conversation. We need to see how we not just alleviate it, but streamline it so that we're giving kids the skills they need. Because at 10th grade, they don't have that. We can tell ourselves that they do, but they don't.
I just wanted to say, I didn't mean to open a can of worms, but if I did, when I said that about them all having projects due at the same time. I was frustrated with the week because I kept trying to get them to do things and they didn't want to do it. But they don't want to do it anyway. And I appreciate any time that people give the kids writing projects. Because Schmitz was giving them a really hard writing project, and they need that because I gave them 2 essays, and they were not hard essays. And it's like getting a root canal to get some of them to write like a 4-paragraph essay. And I don't know what they're going to do next year because just getting them to write is killing me. And getting them to just do the work it's huge. I don't know how to do it any differently. I don't know how. There's something that's wrong. And it's wrong from the ground up. It's like they don't want to work.
They're prioritizing which ones do first and which ones do second so they can survive little by little.
Well,
but it's unfortunate, yes, and there's got to be change, and that's why we're talking about it, so that there's change made.
well, what I see is that okay, nobody means this to be the way it is, but this is what I see, is they will prioritize the men teacher, their work over mine, every time. If it's a guy, they'll do it. They do it every time. I think it's got to do with their family lives, or maybe they seem more authoritative, or whatever, and they'll tell me that they're working on Keela's project, and that his project trumps mine, or that they are working on Schmitz's project. And it's just frustrating to me, and I'm just like at a loss.
Ms. Haskell?
Well, I think this is where Abbott needs to step up and help. I've already started today helping out in Hilo with Abbott, and I've told the kids on Tuesday we're going to do an hour Quizlet. On Thursday we're doing an hour on the reading the Barron's book from now until the time of the test. And and I don't see why Abbott 3 can't step up and help out with whatever you need to have them read.
She's agreed on to help out and agree. So
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you don't mind me jumping in just a comment, I've talked to Ms. McAdoo because the project I gave, mine was like yours, 100% done in class. And unless you're Trayvon and flat out not doing it, there's no need to take it out of class. Okay? Ms. Miss Ellis came to me because I did have a very small number of students who didn't even get the project because of testing. They didn't even get it until Thursday. I extended the time for them. Listen, it didn't even click to me. She came and said, hey, and I said, okay, no problem. But I also went to Miss McAdoo and said, listen, they've got this project they're working on. And she said, look, I can do two things for you. Number one, if they need to, can they come down to you? Absolutely no problem, send them down. And then number two, she said, look, if we need to, I can sit over here, because she had it, I know at one point she has pre-cal and algebra 2 at the same time. So she said, okay, all y'all algebra 2 people, because I'm the only algebra 2 teacher, y'all go over there and work on your project. And Miss McAdoo is very, very helpful about stuff like that.
And
So
I think
agree.
it's just communicating with the Avid teachers that we know everything. I've said this before, I've helped Joe out before where we've had to read things. We were doing the DBQ practices last year, and I don't mind that because that's what they need. They need to be reading more anyway. And vocabulary is a big portion of, Avid, and now the SAT words are not as great. His words are gonna just pop right in there. And so we need to use Avid as a resource to help these kids, because it's what's best for kids.
I've noticed McAdoo will have like half of the class be a study hall, and like my juniors and seniors will study, like my Britlip, they'll do it. I just see so much time spent with kids. I'll see when they have the holding tank situation of something going on, and I know they have projects due for May and they won't do them. So, we keep saying, how can we fix what we're doing? How can we fix what they're doing? Because they're not managing their time well at all, and then they start freaking out and feeling stressed because everything's bottlenecking. But they're not using the time they have available to do the stuff they need to do.
Yeah, and that's true. I talk to the Avid kids. They always tell me what they have to do, but then they don't do it when they get home. And that's just part of learning to fail. They fail enough, they're going to end up doing it the right way.
The issue that we have with the sophomore class is you have a group of high achievers, and then you have a big group of middle. There's not a lot of low end this year compared to the senior class, for example, 2 years ago. The 30 or 40 kids that fit in that middle are the ones we're constantly struggling with. And those are the ones that are constantly doing this. Okay, I've got an A in Hills class today. I can afford to take 60 or so on his test today because I'll still have a B, so I'll do this today. And so specifically what happened with today's test and yesterday's test was that kids coming and going, Mr. John, what do I have in your class? Okay, so I can afford to get about a 70 and I'm still gonna get a B, right? Yeah. Okay. That's how they think. So they're doing this, and it's that group in the middle. Now, the problem is, my numbers, I'm going to go back to those numbers, they're a whole class number of 87 kids, and it's 87, and if I get 10 or 12 of the top kids passing, okay, I still have 7 kids not passing. So how do I narrow that number? What I'm looking for is, how can I narrow that number and give those kids, those middle kids, that shot? Because some of those middle kids, if they get a little extra time, will be able to do it. And so what I'm looking for is some way to just maximize their study time. Now, I'm not asking you not to assign study. I'm just asking you to be cognizant of the fact that they need some extra study time now. Because basically what I'm going to do is I'm looking at teaching this class for the next 6 weeks like it's a college class in the summer. So I'm going to teach them just like it's a college class. It's going to be fairly accelerated, and they're going to have more homework than they normally have. And the ones that are going to do the homework, okay, and if they have time to do the homework, they may be more successful on the test. Now we have Avid helping out, okay, and that's great. That's going to give them 2 more hours of study time every 2 days. I'm just looking to maximize. Whatever you can do to help me, great. That's what I need. I need help. I'm asking for help. I'm sorry that it comes. I'm sorry it comes across that I think my class is more important, but the bottom line to this, the way I see it, I'm just going to say what it is. At the end of the year, okay, when the numbers are counted, I'm not being asked, for example, in U.S. history, I'm teaching and helping out all these kids that I don't teach. I'm not being asked, are they going to pass a test? I'm now being asked, are they going to be commended? And how are you going to make them commended?
So you're going to just quit teaching chemistry and then teach your history class? Is that what you want? Because I could do it that way.
I'm just obviously you're not hearing me.
Obviously,
You're taking it personally, and I'm trying to do what's best for the school and for these students long term.
You're doing what's best for the numbers.
That's
The
what's
kids-
the school. You know what?
the
And
kids
that's what
need-
got us a new building. What do you think got you a new building? You think if we failed here, we would have gotten a new building? Do you
Okay,
think?
Hold on.
I mean, that's the
Hold
bottom
on.
line.
Hold on. I'm gonna have to defend him for a second, because one thing that you forget is they also have to take the SAT and or ACT. And I can tell you right now, on
Right.
the ACT, there's a high level of science content. So if he blows off chemistry and says, okay, I'm gonna give blood
That's
assignments,
good.
I'm speaking now. You wanted your turn, it's mine.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a high level of geometry on there. So if I blow off geometry so that they can pass and just kill an AP history test, then they're going to come back on us and go, how come these ACT scores are so low? Because they can't do the chemistry and the geometry, and I have a lot of 10th graders in algebra too. I can't blow those off because, as you said, looking forward, there is another test.
Right. I don't think, and I.
Can I add one other thing that is a constructive comment? You said you had Avid helping. I taught AP statistics for 3 years. And as I got closer to crunch time, I went to the English teachers and said, look, I'm going to give these are some examples of some free response questions. I know you got to have them write an essay for something. Can we double dip? And I had a lot of English, every one of the English teachers said, hey, that's a great idea. Because guess what? Ketchum's going to grade it. It took a load off of the English teacher because they don't know doodly squat about statistics. And then I hand it back to them and go, okay, these are the kids you got, these are the grades they got, boom. Easy grade, and she had to do no work. Because I always hear the English teacher saying, man, it's bogging me down because I got all these papers I got. Somebody else is now grading a paper for them.
And I appreciate the contribution because I think that's a great idea, but ultimately it comes back to what bringing it back full circle in terms of how can we help each other to ensure that the students are getting what they need. Because no one's asking anyone to shut down, to not test, except the district every time he asks us to benchmark. That's an entirely different conversation. No one's asking anyone to stop teaching anything. What we're trying to do, and that's, I mean, 2 birds, 1 stone. And y'all know that's where I live. If we're going to ask kids to do that, and you can ask a student to, in English, write something, and you've got something that you can back, and it's beneficial to everyone. You have a grade, kids have a grade, they've got more time on the test. Kids have time in their chemistry and their Spanish and their art, because of all of the people, you should be the most pissed off of anyone, because I've taken all of your time.
I have 0 time with my kids. I don't teach on Fridays, and then
And so
yeah.
I mean I totally understand that we've taken that, but we just have to figure out how to use our time and our resources and ourselves so that we can support across the board, because the better our kids do ultimately, the better chance they have to compete at higher level universities. Because right now what we've done is we've taken them from, I'm not sure if I can go to college, to, hey, I'm taking college courses. Hey, I could go to a 4-year. Hey, I could go to a good 4-year. Maybe go to the best 4-year. Everything we do to increase our numbers, and those numbers include our EOC, our AP. You know, I've got kids in AP Spanish who are going to be a little bit later in getting college ready, but if they pass their test, they're already going to have that on their transcript. It's an entirely different conversation from that, but they're going to have AP Spanish and an ability to use that as they progress. I mean, so it's not just history. We have AP Human that's going to be taken in 9th grade. So we're establishing that piece and increasing the expectation for students. And we have to be able to do that for the progress. mean, I know one's asking anybody to stop doing anything, but we've got to figure out how to do it smarter. And so even in that piece, which is what Ms. Polanco was going to, coming back to trying to figure out how we can support each other in doing that. How we can support each other and support the students. Because we know what it's like to get overwhelmed and know that you need a few other grades and kids have been pulled from you, and what do I do and how do I get them and how do I get that piece in, and so then it becomes so overwhelming. So where do I start?
You know,
Kids are no different, adults are no different than kids.
Yeah, I'm just as overwhelmed as they are. And when they have 96 grades to get in 6-week period, that's overwhelming for them.
Right. So if they've got something that can count in your class and AVID, when they've got something that they can use multiple times that can be
cross-curricular,
that's part of the conversation about, and it goes back ultimately to what Dr. G was talking about the other day in terms of we have options to not do benchmarks, but to show that we are planning so that we are covering what we need to cover without having to shut down for all of those pieces. It's everybody sitting down and coming to the table, and yes, it's time, and it will take time to get it established, but if you can do that and take that time prior to and have that planned out, are the pieces of, these are the pieces where we're going to do our own checkpoints to make sure and show the data and show our increase in all of our courses, because there are checkpoints and benchmarks for particular courses, especially EOC, but there are other checkpoints for other classes. If you plan those out and do those, then it's less intrusive from the district, and so then by taking that time, you're actually getting time back in the classroom with students.
You know, it's just that whatever we do on our own, we have one teaching everything. So I can plan a test that covers all the standards, but it's like it's not like I got a team of people and we're all putting it together like it used to be when I was in the big
No, it
school.
doesn't. But if he gives you short answer response opportunities, it's something that you can do in class. If the two of you are collaborating, if AVID is collaborating on what's being done, then
We have
we're
tried
but
to
we can't
collaborate on things, but the problem too is and it's always been this way, the scope and sequence for English, even when I taught 3 and 4, and the scope and sequence for history don't match up at all. So, there are opportunities where I could reinforce what he's teaching, but I'm not teaching at the same period at the same time.
correct.
You
But
know.
there's no,
But the skills I could reinforce.
there is nothing that says the district has a scope and sequence, but Dr. G has given folks leeway to make some adjustments in what they're doing.
Right.
If we made the commitment to make that plan and show it to the district, so it couldn't just be, hey, let's do this. This is what we're going to do. These are our assessments. These are our time frames. We want to move certain things from English so that they line up with history, so that we utilize them in AVID. Chemistry is certain information that they want to cover, however it possibly aligns with any other area, or just because it makes more sense.
they align with me. Science and math, they align with me because I have topics that have to do with mathematics, science, and technology. So any kind of topic that you can put in there that they can know more about, that's me. So it's just a matter of working together so that we can, if you give it to them, it's stoichiometry or whatever that they're coming up, right? Okay, so you're talking about stoichiometry in your class. Let me know so that I can find articles in Spanish that have to do with stoichiometry, and then they make the connection to yours, because a lot of them are Spanish, first language Spanish speakers. Even if they speak very fluent English, they will make the connection, or I will help them make the connection to Spanish and to your class. And so that way we can work together. No shutdowns whatsoever, except for benchmarks. But we can work with it. That's why when it happened to be in Spanish and Mia was here with Spanish, that's why I was helping her with her math, because it correlates with what I'm doing in my class. You understand what I'm saying?
Thank you for getting that done for the truth.
No problem.
If you'll send me a list of your AP so that I know.
Because I have
I got
74.
no problem giving you, like, okay, I'm just being theoretical now. On Friday, we're gonna do a little writing prompt on whatever. I can send you and say, look, as long as they mention A, B, C, and D, then you've got all the content they have to have, and you can grade the writing for, was it written in correct grammar, language, and everything else, and we can double dip that.
There we go.
That actually would work well for me.
Yeah, and that way everybody helps each other, and together as one, we help these kids be successful. Is that a plan?
That's the bottom line, ultimately, is to make sure that they have the skills
Sure.
they need.
Yeah, that's good. So, yeah.
Any other questions? And all we said for the people that were here a little bit, just make sure that you have contact the parents if they're because remember that last day for grades is on Friday. So contact parents if they're failing, even if they already said no, just letting you know he's failing. Okay. And also updating the spreadsheet because we have to send out new mandatory tutorials. And what else was it? Oh, and your Avid requirements. Remember that they were due on Friday.
What are we supposed to do this month after that?
I don't know what yours was, but for us it was Cornell notes.
I think yours was quick writes.
Was what?
Quick writes.
Mine was annotation.
So if you have a quick write somewhere in there, just make sure that it has the date, the subject, and does it have to have the name? No, right? No
You
names?
know they did?
They were due Friday.
So it has to be dated last week.
No, it
It-
can be,
it-
actually, to tell you the truth, it can be,
Any of the 6 weeks.
according to her, it can be any time, but like you could have picked, if you actually need to, you could pick something from last marking period. But the idea is the fact that she has evidence and she wants to see it spread across the whole year. Okay?
And the whole
So,
classes.
the whole year. So she wants to see all classes doing it. She wants evidence from all classes that we're all doing these different things and that it's not everyone's doing it all at one time at specific points. She wants to see the spread out. So that's why we did the whole spread. Well, you'll do it this week. But if you don't have any evidence from this marking period, just go back to marking period. And just give the students the results, that's all. Yeah, she said that was okay.
Those were the projects that we saw.
Myra didn't make her own name mouse, that's
I
the
know,
problem.
I know. Let's look at the question mark on there.
So, yeah, just a week, just for the
Did you
purpose
like
of the
it?
next 8 weeks,
Yes, I thought it was
I
good.
hope we have 8 weeks, is just to get a calendar of, some sort together to see if there's anything,
Utilize
So-
what we already have, but utilize it. Put it on. Even doesn't even have to be a calendar. Just let me know what you're doing, and I'll do it here in my AP classes. Right?
Yeah, and then that just so that it's out so that we don't have, 6 projects all due on the same day, just that we're just managing that. And I know, y'all are preparing for your testing and you can get information, but even then, if you know what, like you said, you have math pieces that they could use in Spanish, if you just know that, even if it's just a quick conversation about what you're doing and you can make that connection, then you're just reinforcing what the other is doing in class, and it doesn't take away from, if anything, it supports and adds that extra level of it's relevant outside of just this conversation. Like, you're going to see it in other places and you can reinforce it so that they make that connection between what you're doing, and they know you're talking too, so that they know that you're working with them. Because really, I know, I can imagine how overwhelmed they are, because I know at their age I wouldn't have been able to handle everything that they're doing.
What AP exam was on the
19th is a freshman Spanish AP.
So the 9th graders who were in that native speakers class will be testing. They just can't test on the third because they're testing biology.
Any other questions? And that's it. As you saw, it was quite dramatic, right? Um, I figured that I had to be very blunt and very honest about the things that happened in this meeting, and I had to show everything because of the fact that I wanted to see, for you to see the passion that they have towards their subject and the content. And the way that it always happens in the school is that these teachers are devoted. They are dedicated to the cause of getting middle class students, not middle class socially, but middle of the road students that might have thought that they might go to college or maybe not, to get them to where they get to a university. Not only do they get to a university, but to a better university than what they had expected they would ever go to. And so, in the process of getting them there, you have to increase the rigor, you have to increase the workload, you have to show them the processes that are necessary in order for you to get to that stage. And this is something that is long term. It starts in the 9th grade, and when they get to a 10th grade, the transition between 10th grade into 11th grade, or even the transition from 9th grade to 10th grade, where they are kind of sinking their feet deeper into the water, and really deep into the water, because now they have a lot of college classes, and they have AP classes, and they have 3-4 projects in 1 week due, and they're in survival mode. And that's what you heard here, where everybody's putting in work, everybody's caring about what the student does, but it's about working smarter and not harder. And that is the process that's going to start taking place, where me and my team meet up and divide the work or do cross-curricular activities so that we can all help each other out instead of being each one our own identity. This is a school, and this is Early College Academy. What I would have done differently, or what I did that as soon as I said it and as soon as I did it, it was something that I wish I wouldn't have done, is to giving them a non-structured discussion board, basically a discussion forum where they can vent out their ideas. If we are more constructive, it would have been a better and more successful meeting. The fortunate thing about it was that even though that they exploded and they said what had to be said, because in essence, it was something that was boiling. It was something that was happening all year long, where you saw the AP teacher saying, "My class is better than yours." It ultimately, in the numbers, it says that it's better than yours. Well, he's been saying that in every single meeting, staff meeting, and everything. And so somebody's saying, "So you should, my class, I should stop teaching it and get to yours," was the point where we can say, okay, here is how everybody thinks. It's out on the table. Now, how can we change it? How can we move on? So, in essence, even though I opened a can of worms, we were able to come to a resolution. And the argument, or the discussion, even though it escalated to a point where it was very loud, it was decreased by the fact that it's not about your class, it's not about my class, it's about the students. And when you have people that are willing to talk about it, and that you have people that are so passionate that they come to this agreement where it's not about your class and it's not about you, it's not about me, it's not about chemistry or AP history or AP Spanish or art or writing, it's about the students and having them learn the processes of making themselves college ready and helping us make them college ready, is something that is wonderful. And it's necessary. And so, for that matter, what I learned about this is that the working across curricular activities cross-curricular activities is something that has to be done in order for the actual, like, all the material to be covered. And I learned that these people are very passionate and that they're very knowledgeable, and that in essence we're all fighting for the same thing. It's just some have higher voices than others, and some are softer in how they complain or how they go about voicing their opinions. But sometimes I think I learned something that was never done before in my 8 years of teaching, and that was that we were able to have a forum where we're not embarrassed to say how we feel, and we're not embarrassed or we're not shut down by an authoritative figure that doesn't get to let me voice how I feel or how he feels or they feel, but it's actual just pure want, pure desire to make these students succeed. So I hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope I don't get kicked out. This was pretty intense, and thank you.